Great. So, welcome, guys, to another episode of the Inside Roundtable. Today, we have a very relevant topic, a topic which is been in vogue for the last, say, couple of years. So, it's quite quitting. How should we address this silent revolution? To speak on that, we have two very prominent HR and TA leaders, Arun and Bharath. So, we'll start with Arun. Arun Prasad, our first speaker. He's a seasoned HR and TA professional who has worked with companies like UBS, Bank of America, and JP Morgan, and known for his forward thinking approach and understanding of the workforce dynamics. And he has seen a lot of very complex hiring landscapes, and his insights are valuable, as we can see in this webinar, when he will throw some light on this quiet quitting. So, welcome, Arun. A brief introduction, maybe for the audience, and then we can move on to Bharat. So, over to you, Arun.
Thank you, Sarabjit. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining through wherever you are onto the social site. I'm Arun Prasad. I head the talent acquisition for a company named Flutter Entertainment. So we are the new global capability center in the town in Hyderabad. So we are Hyderabad based at this point in time, right? I've got, I believe I got decent experience into the HR. I played various roles in HRs, with HR business partnering, HR operations, a few stint onto the learning and development. But
Mm.
what it stood personally and professionally is being a recruiter. Whatever the designation I move on, I'm a hardcore recruiter from heart. That's what I would probably say. Yes. So as Saurabh just said, I worked in majority of my companies initially was investment banks and financial institutions. I worked in Singapore, Hong Kong. My last stint was in London, in UK. I'm back to India, and I'm so happy for it.
Great. Lovely. So, thank you, Arun, for taking time, and welcome to the Inside Roundtable. So, we'll move on to Bharat. Bharat Kumar, who is an expert, HR expert with a track record of very strategic talent acquisition, and he has vast experience in companies like Google, Meta, Cognizant, and Healthify, from developing hiring frameworks to driving employee engagement. So, Bharat, welcome to the Inside Roundtable. A brief introduction about you. So, I've talk to you about a little, and then over to you, Bharat.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Hey everyone, I'm Bharath. I've been in the industry for more than 11 years now, 11 and a half years. And over these years, I've hired for all kinds of roles. I've done the other side of the HR side of things as well. I've hired across regions, APAC, EMEA, US. And previously, I was with Meta in Ireland, Germany, taking care of all the product related hiring. Now I'm back to India, now leading the entire talent acquisition efforts for Ultraviolet Automotive. And as Arun said, happy to be back in India.
Lovely to have you, Bharat. And let's start. So we'll start with my first question. So my first question we'll start with, say, Arun first. So, Arun, tell us about your journey from childhood to becoming the leader which you are today. Any moments of joy and moments of excellence. What like we want to share about your journey from
Oh,
the
certainly. Thank you, Sarabjit. No, I mean, I don't think so. I was a leader from a childhood, to be very frank. I was a pretty shy kid, very introvert. And, my only focus is, or probably my parents was focusing me only on, how I get decent marks, decent scores in my schools and colleges. Then, I thought I'll become, an engineer and probably take up an information technology or an electronics and electrical engineering. But nothing happened in my career. I think the destiny was I have to become an HR, and specifically in recruitment. But it all chosen. I've kind of initially thought that, okay, fine, I'll join a company where it's more of a customer success or customer support or something like that. Then I figured out myself that I have this uniqueness in me that I do network well. I do connect with the people well. I can speak and I can understand their minds. So it's more of like you meet the people who are unknown to you, right? So
Mhm.
I felt that I have that strength, and I really want to put across that strength to a name, and that's the recruitment that all about. So I started, as many of the recruiters will start as, in a consulting firm. I worked nearly for 5 to 6 years,
Mhm.
built my base on, initially to headhunt the candidates, cold call the candidates, at various stages. Then, from there I went to Singapore to establish an organization there. I become an assistant manager to manager. That's when I started managing people and portfolios and RFPs, so on and so forth. Then there is never turning back, right? Then manager to whatever the designations have been moved on to manage. So at last I've managed 45 people in my career. That's the max that I have.
Okay.
Worked obviously for the last 3 4 stints, or in 5 stints, have
Mhm.
been into GCCs, GICs. Have been lucky into working on very larger firms ever in my career.
Great. Uh, Bharat, so what about you? Brief about like your journey from childhood to becoming the leader which you are today.
So born, brought up, studied everything in Mysuru, and then, like most Mysoreans, moved to Bengaluru for work.
Okay.
Started in learning and development of all the places, which I was super excited about because I love teaching. But then very quickly realized that's not something that I would want to do for a very long time.
Okay.
I moved from L&D to like proper sourcing recruitment through various companies.
Hmm.
The more I grew, the more responsibilities I started taking. There have been companies where I was the only recruiter, so you get
Okay.
to hire everything and then
Mhm.
do on the HR side of things because there's no one else to do that. And then I was with Direct Eye, basically hiring for all of their sort of independently run autonomous companies within Direct Eye umbrella brand. And then finally managed to get myself into Meta, got that international exposure.
Mhm.
That basically gave me the sort of opportunity to think at scale.
Hmm.
Like when you're
Okay.
hiring at a global level, what are the things that you have to take into consideration? Uh,
Okay.
the kind of people that you hire are basically responsible for building products which will directly impact billions of people.
Mhm.
This is a billion with an S. So any product that they were going to build, be it WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, it was always a billions. And the kind of questions that you're supposed to ask, the kind of evaluation that you'll do when you are talking to them
Mhm.
is completely different. And similarly, the kind of stakeholders that you're managing are also different. And through that,
Mhm.
I learned a lot. And then finally, moved back to India, joined a new startup at a time which is probably the most amazing time for the company, Ultraviolet Automotive. We
Okay.
launched a couple of great products, F99, which is India's first super bike,
Mhm.
and also we announced that we'll be exporting these bikes to various other countries, like starting with Turkey, planned for Germany, and many more countries. And I could not be happier for joining here and leading the entire talent acquisition efforts for the company.
Okay, great. So let's continue with Bharat on the next question. But so, how is quiet quitting reshaping the definition of employee engagement? So it's often seen as a reflection of disengagement, or people are not much interested in that. Like, how do you see it differently, and what's your take on a long term basis, long term impact of this?
See, personally, I feel it's a symptom, not a problem.
Mm.
Something is the problem, and then that is showing up as symptom in the name of quiet quitting.
Mm.
And there's few challenges that the traditional notion have, and some of the ways that this quiet quitting is influencing is through completely redefining your engagement metrics, like how you
Mm.
used to measure the engagement metric.
Mm.
uh, it's no longer a 9 to 5 job. It's no longer I give you a task and you complete the task, so I give you a pat on the back.
Mm.
People are realizing and moving away from their extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation.
Hmm.
Extrinsic motivation could be your rewards for, okay, you did a good job, so here's a bonus or here's a gift card. From
Hmm.
there, people are now moving to intrinsic motivation where I need work-life balance, I need my mental well-being to be taken care. So I give more importance to that.
Hmm.
And organization today not addressing some of these problems would not be able to uh, sort of overcome this phenomenon that everybody is now calling quiet quitting.
Okay.
So if you keep on trying to solve a symptom, it's just going to come back in a different form
Hmm.
until and unless you address the actual problem that is leading to these symptoms.
Okay. Okay. So Arun, what's your take on this? Like, how's quiet quitting reshaping the definition of engagement, like employee engagement, and long-term impact of
Yeah.
this?
So yeah, I mean, I would probably see that the fancy names that we look at, quitting is one of the fancy name we
Hmm.
earlier had, that great resignation and all stuff in
Hmm.
the industry, right? See, I mean, I do see quiet quitting, differently than a reflection of disengagement, right? So it's purely an indicative of shift in employee expectations and priorities, and so do even for the organizations as well. Bharat did speak about the lack of appreciation. I do echo that. Often turns into burnouts. We spoke even a few minutes before. A team who's probably overworking, emotionally exhausted, physically exhausted, and that is withdrawing the effort. All this is causing the burnout, and probably that is also probably one of the reason of quiet quitting. The lack of appreciation, absolutely I agree, because generally you and me work well, and we probably in an environment, in a competitive environment, the one thing which always takes us is an appreciation. So if there is a sense of detachments over there, then there is a problem which will automatically occur. Then some of the organizations and employers have very unrealistic expectations. As we speak about, earlier it was only Java developer. The Java developer become a back end. Now they had front end
Hmm.
technologies. Then what happened was it evolved that, okay, fine, why we need to have two people in managing back end and front end? Let's develop something called full stack. Okay, fine, full stack is developed. Then how the full stack developers can also manage testing,
Hmm.
in environment. So that's obviously, you know it's healthy to have, the roles which is getting evolved, but
Hmm.
also that creates some very unrealistic expectations for the employees in an organization to know everything that they could work out, and probably can cause into a burnout and disengagement.
Okay.
That's my kind of take on it.
So, like continuing with you, Arun. So, do you think is it a sign of a cultural problem, or or are employees like simply redefining, as you told, that work boundaries or their priorities? So, does this phenomenon also signal a deep-rooted issue in our workplace culture,
Yeah,
or an employee response to like burnout or lack of work-life balance, as we say?
it's a combination of both, I would say, both cultural as well as how organization could address it better. I totally agree with that. For example, quiet quitting can happen when there is a toxic work environment, where there is a very negative work environment. Employees will never get encouragement for what motivation, whatever they do, maybe
Mm.
because of poor leadership, in an organization where your leader is really not able to kind of direct the employees rightly, not very strategic, not knowing what's really happening. So all this could culturally be draining, a little bit. That can cause quite quitting as well.
Mm.
And if you really ask me how, what's that going to be, the work life balance specifically, how it's getting lacking over is, simply when we kind of little bit prioritize few stuffs for the employees. Normal things are nowadays, as you know, I remember, there was a survey came in 2 years before, versus today.
Mm.
2 years before, compensation was number one priority for many of the candidates when they look out for an opportunity. Nowadays they're asking, can I get remote work, as one of the discussion, and well-being has taken a good stand over. So I think the prioritization changes, due course. So the employee well-being, the meaningful work, and a leader who listens to the employees and addresses the concerns and
Hmm.
do an evaluation of the entire work culture. Is it the right culture? Is it a forward-looking culture? These are some things that an organization should do to address the, quiet quitting, in my view.
Okay. Okay. Great. So lovely insights from Arun on this. Like Bharat, what is your take on this? Like, is it a sign of a cultural problem, or like simply redefining work boundaries or preferences?
No, I agree with Arun. It is a combination of both, and some of the things, again, as I said, most organizations try to cater to the symptoms rather than the problems, and you end up with benefits like, oh, we have tied up with this mental health well-being vendor who is ready to provide support any 24/7.
Hmm.
That's a great benefit to have, but in what way are you utilizing it?
Hmm.
Are you just giving this benefit because everybody is now talking about mental health, health being,
Hmm.
or are you actually caring about your employees and making sure that they don't burn out, they don't uh, like have some kind of work-life balance, and
Okay.
then you give them certain level of trust and autonomy to do the work that you have hired them to do.
Hmm.
Without that trust and autonomy, everything else sort of fails.
Okay.
So your disengagement can be a combination of culture where you have a toxic culture where that hustling or that overworking is appreciated versus
Hmm.
someone who has done their work in a smart way and most efficient way and then just has figured out the best way to manage their work and life always get underappreciated. So
Hmm.
you cannot put the blame on just one thing. It has to be a combination of both, and start fixing both, and you will eventually come out at the top where your employees' productivity will come up. They start appreciating you as an employer, and they will start trusting you as an employer because you are giving that trust and autonomy back to them.
Okay. Bharat, do you think that this quiet quitting is more prevalent in certain types of roles or industries, or like specific job functions which are more susceptible to this kind of trend? Like, anything on that?
Uh, See, if you do the sort of a deep dive analysis, you can find it can be pointed out that okay, quiet quitting can be sort of a visible in like higher in certain industries, certain roles. Like for
Hmm.
example, healthcare. I think at the peak of COVID, we all were super appreciative of our frontline workers, healthcare workers. Today, nobody probably talks about them.
Hmm.
But then that has always been the case where we there are industries where we have never appreciated them,
Hmm.
even though they are the most critical ones. Today, quiet quitting is getting the limelight because I think tech industry is talking a lot about it.
Hmm.
But there are other industries. Healthcare is one. Education is another one.
Hmm.
The student to teacher ratio has probably been an all-time high,
Hmm.
and you have less and less people who are inclined to become teachers or get into education as a sector. But then you want your kids to be taught by probably the best in class tutors, teachers, etc.
Hmm.
Or finance, investment banking. Like how many times have you heard about people getting exhausted, overburdened with the kind of work hours that this industry has?
Hmm.
And I don't want to bring up the latest things that has happened, but I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. So if you want, you can identify quiet quitting in specific industries, specific roles, but I feel it's only getting the limelight because tech industry is feeling that burn.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Arun, what is your take on this? Like, quiet quitting more prevalent in certain types of roles or industries, or as Bharat has told that it's getting limelight because of the tech industry, or is it prevalent in all industries? What we totally like.
I would probably say it's prevalent in all industries. Not
No.
very specific on, if you could see, somebody who's selling a credit card
Hmm.
outside an ATM center, they do have the same stress like sitting at information technology or a healthcare or finance.
Hmm.
It's not, it's the same measurement that I could probably see about every role, every industry, is pretty much on the same. So it involves very high significant pressure, right? So the pressure is too high. There are long hours. The employees and people are working on very demanding workloads, and the timelines that we need to complete the projects have been demanding as well. So all are some of the aspects that it's just putting across to an end, like quite quitting. Some of the I spoke about somebody who sells credit cards on the phone. They are not sure about what are their pays, but might be low paid jobs, and that's also probably they feel very undervalued, underappreciated at the time. They probably withdraw the efforts when it comes. Just an example that I'm providing. And many of those remote work as well, I've seen some of the employees talking about, okay, fine, I get the flexibility and benefits working from home. I don't need to spend money to kind of travel, but it also contributes to maybe a feeling of getting isolated or disengaged. That way they also probably get into a quiet quitting mode. So I think it's not just one certain industry or one certain aspect. I think it's just prevalent across all the business, all the functions, all the industries, and and different people, different set of people as well.
Okay. So, like, continuing with you, Arun, do you think that this is the, like, is the gig economy, like gig work and gig economy, contributing to the rise of this quiet quitting in traditional jobs, like with the growth of, like, say, a lot of freelancing work and gig work? So, are more employees simply like weighing their options?
No, I don't think so. That's one of the reason, because see, we're talking about in the working environment, the employees are pretty disengaged and they're not happy for various reasons. Maybe with the pressure that they need to earn more, probably to manage the family. We also spoke about moonlighting and all stuff where
Mm-hmm.
some of the employees would probably do another gig outside separately, and that that gig will, obviously every gig will have the delivery timelines, and they need to manage the work that they really do versus what the gig that they are for. A little bit of extra earnings and all that may also cause a burnout and other issues. So, but not specifically big gig coming into picture and then it's causing the work environment. No, not really, as per my view.
Okay. Uh, like, what do you think, like, Bharat, on this? Like, the gig economy is any chance that they might be influencing this or like contributing to the rise of the quiet quitting in mostly traditional jobs?
See, a couple of years back, I would have probably said yes because of the pandemic led huge growth that every company was facing.
Mm-hmm.
And you were getting paid, and then freelancers, if you're an expert or a niche skill person, you could command the kind of salary that everybody was willing to pay. Today, not so much. People are, it's a cycle. People now are back to having that feeling of secure feeling that, okay, I have a job, I have commitments, I can take care of things,
Hmm.
but I don't have the like, my employer doesn't trust, my employer wants everything at a micromanaged level. I'm not really learning anything new, but I'm expected to do like slog hours, number of hours. That will be the main reasons. uh, Gig economy, probably no. uh, Maybe freelancing could have been a consideration, but not in today's market.
Okay. Okay. Um, Understood. So, Bharat, on this, like, should HR intervene or let the market self correct in dealing with quiet quitting? Like, any strategic move for HR departments right now to like address this trend, or like letting the job market naturally evolve will be
No,
there.
absolutely, they have to intervene.
Okay.
And again, not solving the symptom but the problem.
Okay.
Come up with policies which actually solve the work-life balance issues, policies that solve trust and autonomy issues, uh, leadership training. Like, train your managers, because sometimes all it takes is educating people on how best you can perform, and that could be one of the easiest ways where you can get more out of your own existing employees. Could be and then this has a lot of second order effects as well. So the outcome of this intervene is always a positive outcome. So intervene, solve the problem, and you will see the symptoms slowly go away.
Okay. Okay. Uh, Coming back to Arun. So Arun, like, should the HR intervene or the market should self-correct dealing with quiet quitting? And like we were discussing about your experience with that, like just before we started. So anything at that point of time the HR could have done, or like how do you think of this?
No, I'll just explain the scenario for the audience around, but just to answer your question about, whether HR departments can strategically move in dealing with the quiet quitting. Now, I feel like the leaders in the organization and overall company is not just an HR specific role. It's across all the leaders and HRs. They need to start listening, the employees, rather than just directing and telling them what to do and what's all about. They start listening to the employees. And also I feel that when one size doesn't fit all, obviously every employee is different from the way they talk about what's burning out for them or what's not working for them. So if the future HRs be ready to listen, upskill, reskill, as Bharat said, but at the same time do a very personalized approach to each of the employees within the firm, could probably deal good with the quiet quitting, in my view. I mean, it's an individual contributor or even a manager or even a leader. I think we need to think about a little personalized approach, or design a very personalized structure to deal the burnouts for each of the employees.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Given my experience, I probably want to put across, my previous stint was in London in UK. I was so excited, that I got an opportunity and probably want to kind of change as much as possible from my experience learning and all stuff for a new country. Then I went there. I did well, specifically from a work point of view. A lot of appreciation, kudos. Being an HR, obviously you would try to meet a lot of people and learn. All this was happening positively. But what I probably felt is, as many of remote working people feel, that I'm all alone. I'm disengaged. There's nobody else that I could probably speak more than my family, that I could probably take over. There was no relatives. There was no much of friends. So you're just, left in an, kind of an isolated land. So I was feeling myself isolated. But like me, but I didn't speak to, any of the people. I was talking only with my manager, trying and settle down myself, as much as possible, the exhaustion and other stuffs. But it was not working out. Sometime, it will not work out, so you quit and you move on. So that's why I said, if you recollect at the beginning of my conversation, I was pretty happy to take a decision that, okay, one thing doesn't work out good maybe for an organization it worked well. Organization gave me everything that I need, but personally it was not very rewarding for me to stay in one of the locations. So I relocated back for my personal growth, personal happiness and all stuff. And I'm pretty happy that I've been in the current firm for the last 1 year. So it can happen to anybody. Try to resolve within the organization, within the company. Sometimes it doesn't work out. If there is a toxic culture in your organization, if there is a toxic manager, if the direction is not good, then you're not given a proper work life balance. Then obviously it's our rights and our health which comes first, and we need to take a right decision for ourselves.
Okay, great. Like, I think we'll start with Bharat. So could there be any positive outcomes from, like, quiet quitting for businesses, and any positive outcome, you think?
It depends on how you see. Let's say the organization decides, okay, first identifies that, okay, this is a phenomenon that they are facing, and they decide to address it. There could be an improvement in employee well-being, mental well-being. You will probably have a complete cultural shift from what you were earlier to a culture where people are appreciated, people are given that trust and autonomy to decide how much work they can do in what time, as long as the work is getting done,
Hmm.
I personally feel they shouldn't be bothered with come at this time, go out at this time. So in this way, you can say that okay, organization will benefit if they actually start trying to solve these problems.
Hmm.
But then, if you continue to solve a symptom, you're
Hmm.
probably going to keep getting back the same thing in a different way. Maybe in a year down the line, people will come up with a different name and call it something else. But the underlying problem remains the same.
Okay. So, Arun, what do you think? Like, will be the like any positive outcomes from quiet reading for businesses? Is there any silver lining or a concept can be reframed as an opportunity for businesses to evolve?
I would like to change probably the name of quiet quitting to something else.
Okay.
That's the fancy stuff. But otherwise, I probably echo what Bharat said.
Hmm.
Just one small observation that I had. I don't think so. Employees can come and go at their part of time, because we actually want to we actually want to develop a culture which is equal to each of the employees, right? So the timing is very important. It starts at 9, ends at 6 is something that work. And there are some functions like customer operations in a firm or a finance. They need to work. They need to do a customer facing. They need to work.
Hmm.
Sitting at office, being on time. So that is there. That will continue to do unless we speak about a different topic altogether. How artificial intelligence come and help all this stuff. There are companies who are even appointing chief happiness officers. We need to figure out how that's going to work out in coming days and all stuff. But long story short, I think the organization need to take proactive steps to improve their culture, and that culture should be a very, very positive environment culture, and create as positive as possible with, as I said, initially, about how it can be personalized to the employees, and keep that the workforce very engaging. Reevaluate everything. For example, employee expectations from a year 1 to an year 2 and year 3. How an employer can kind of shift the employee expectations, and reevaluating those employee expectations, particularly specifically on work-life balance and job satisfaction, continuously through some tools, or learning and listening sessions, focus groups, and all stuff should continuously go on. And organization need to take it very, very seriously. I also echo when Bharat said, it's not just setting up a policy and saying that, hey, I have a great policy of the organization which is well-being, but somebody needs to kind of own it on the badge and work through to ensure that the employees are coming out from the burnout. That's my view.
Great. Okay. So, continuing with Arun, so on this, like, are younger generations like Gen Z are more prone to this, or is it a universal trend?
So I think it's a great question. Thanks. And if I have to put it right, then it seems that the remote and hybrid workers under the age of 35 are driving the trend, and that's what even Gallup survey says. Survey which has taken last year. Obviously, I'm not 35. I'm 40, but anything which is within the 35, I feel they are young crowd, Gen Z and young crowd, and they do it, and it's not that they purposefully do it as such, and they create into a stress, but they also, there is an evolving industry changes. There is a certain need of work life balance, that they think that they probably want to spend time with their friends, time with their family. Work is one of the aspect rather than just work. For example, when I started my career, it was all 9 to 6. I have to work 9 to 6 for I'm the breadwinner of the family, and that's so important for us. But when there's a shift, when I see my daughter, who is at her teenage, and her expectations, her priorities are very different from what I had to take care of my family. My family is first. I have to pay rent and all stuff, but the expectation. So there is a huge shift of the culture has happened, the generation has happened, and it's certainly to do with generation as well. But at the same time, I know that these generation are also very smart to tackle those concerns, and I also know that this generation also know where to go and approach when they are also having a burnout. Unlike us, I've also told about story. I didn't speak to anybody apart from the manager, but beat my age on it. But they know already where to do, where to go, how to escalate, how to work around stuffs. But I think it's continually go for almost all the Gen Z and those who are younger generations to manage and mitigate those risks that's coming to them.
Okay. Great. Bharat, so what are your thoughts on this? Like the last question. So are younger generations like the Gen Z more prone to this, or like we are looking at a generational divide or symptom of changing work dynamics across all work group or all age groups? Sorry.
No, I think I agree with what Arun said, and I feel again this is getting the kind of importance because of the current social media savvy generation.
Hmm.
But I think the quiet quitting or whatever earlier it was called, the no name phenomenon, was always there. People was just didn't have the visibility that the current generation have. So the tech savvy, the social media friendly generation have brought it to the limelight and are giving it much more visibility. So that's why everybody is now talking about quiet quitting. How is it affecting them? How is it going to be in the future? All of these. It's sort of a generational thing.
Okay.
Uh, Not particularly for specific generation.
Great. So we'll move on to the next part, Arun and Bharat. So we have the audience questions. So audience question, we have two questions right now. So what you can do, like anybody can answer or both of you can answer it. So I'll start with the audience questions. So what are some subtle signs of quiet quitting that leaders often overlook? Anybody can answer.
I can go that, Bharat, if you're okay. I've seen that within my teams earlier and present, and maybe even myself at some point in time. When I feel, my team members are doing increased errors in a job that they have done best
Mm,
continuously, it's one of the sign that they're probably, something is bothering them.
mm,
When, I generally do, monthly connects with my teams to kind of understand all stuff rather than waiting for that. Generally what happens is I've also given my team the full open door freedom. They can approach me any point in time if there is a concern, rather than waiting till a month for having those skip level conversations to talk about. Just an example. So if they wait till the month to
mm,
discuss about their concerns, then there is something is bothering them. They're not coming directly to me at that point in time. And some of the personal problems also, they don't speak out, but they come, the team members generally come, they work, probably something is running in their mind they're not very sure about. And I've also seen managers generally, when they speak, they will have some favorite team members within them. So the other team members feel that the managers are pretty much sidelining them and all
mm,
stuff. These are some early sign errors that probably I could think which would probably reduce the outcome of what is expecting for. And if any of the signs comes up for those within the employees that you feel that you are into this, I think it's better you please speak to your manager or your organization as soon as possible. Something is clearly wrong in each one of us in that case.
great. Arun. So Bharat, anything on this or like will
No, this I agree. I actually wanted to echo that where it's so evident when it is hindsight, but then when something like this where your top performer starts missing smaller things, which
mm,
you would probably never imagine them doing this or missing out, if you are not aware of this, if you are not accustomed to this way of thinking where okay, why is this happening and how can I tackle this, it'll eventually lead to a lot of the things that we discussed in this discussion today.
okay. The next question is very interesting. So, next question I'll put up: how do you motivate employees who are not underperforming, but are not clearly going that extra mile?
Maybe I'll start.
Sure, Bharat.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so it all depends on the interest areas,
Mm,
right? As managers, we have to understand that every person is this like brings in their own individual strengths and interests. So meeting expectation is always good, but then there's something called as your learning ability, the passion towards learning newer things. What is sort of makes me passionate about might be different than someone else. So as managers, we need to understand what strengths each team member brings in and what opportunity can they take up. If I give this, do I have confidence that they will be able to do it, either with support or without support? If it is with support, can I give that support, or do I need someone else who can pitch in and give that support? So identify that, and then you can always make sure that these people start taking those additional responsibilities. It cannot be forced. The second you force something like this, they'll be like, yeah, I'm not interested, I don't want to really do it. But then if you play at their strength, right, like somebody is really good at data. Okay, give them managing the entire team's data. How can you optimize that? How can you present it in a way where your rest of the team does not really have to do any kind of manual work? Somebody is interested in sourcing. Okay, how can you make sure that they learn newer ways of sourcing and then do the knowledge transfer, educate the rest of the team? So there's always something that you can identify and then come up with ways where they can utilize that interest in learning something new and then sort of educating the rest of the team.
Okay. Okay. Arun, you want to add on this? Anything?
Nothing much, I generally say that, if you take your hand and look at five fingers, all the five fingers are different from each other from a size perspective, right? That's the organization all about. So you need to play with strengths of the people. Everyone is different from each other, but all of us need to work on a common goal, for the organization, for their values and EVPs. That's the basic given. But yes, there might be weakness because of various reasons. Like I said, increased errors, low job satisfaction, personal problems. The quality is low, deadlines are getting missed, and we need to kind of assess what's that. We could probably help them to kind of coach them, guide them, to ensure the employees are satisfied in a way. So as I said initially, for the future, not presently, I'm not very sure how many employees have even started working on personalized way of approach for each of the employees to work around their upcoming problems that way. So if organization can start thinking about that, I think that's the first win, I would say.
Great. So we'll move on to the next part, which is a candidate question. So as we know, we are a marketplace. We have job seekers asking a lot of questions to us. So one of the major questions which we have got in the last few months is, what is the best way to ask for a referral? Both of you can answer, and anybody can start. Yeah.
What's
What is
the
the
best
best
way
way?
to ask
Ask for a
referral?
referral. Yeah.
Okay, best way to ask for a referral is, try to find out who one person is connected to another person. For example, within my organization, there'll be 10 people that you would know directly or indirectly through some ways, right? I mean, writing to me on LinkedIn is one of the way. I can choose to respond. I no need to choose to respond. Depends upon my personal interest. Most of the time, I try to respond, though. But if you know anybody in the organization, try to ask, hey, can you refer me in the organization? And that person need to know each other well. It's not just, hey, I know by name, right? That doesn't work that way. And that's how referral works. So anybody's interested to kind of apply for an opportunity, say their dream companies, try to find out somebody whom you are connected on LinkedIn, whom you know well, and you have worked with them. You have kind of worked in a way that there is a solid strong delivery has happened between both of you, and they know your strength, they know your weakness, and that's how it starts with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Bharat, your take on this?
Yes. So Arun spoke about how to ask, whom to ask, all of those, right? I'll probably give you a template, like all the audience who are keen about this. There's three things that are important when you're reaching out to somebody. Who are you? What do you want? And what is it that you want the other person to do?
Okay.
So you can fit all of this in 3 lines.
Okay.
My name is so and so. I'm interested in XYZ role at your company with the company name. I'm, and I would love to be considered. Would you be open to referring my profile?
Mm.
I'm going to send you the link and my resume. Thanks for your help, understanding, whatever that you want, best your name. Now,
Okay.
this has all the things that the other person needs to make a decision whether to help them or not.
Hmm.
So, the easiest way is help us in deciding whether to help you or not. And
Okay.
this is also the simplest sort of short enough, clear enough where uh, most people would, when they open this message on their smartphone,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have to scroll to find
Hmm.
out what is it that they are asking.
Hmm.
That means they can make the decision and then they can respond with whatever decision that they've made. So
Oh.
don't write just hi Bharat. The amount of messages that we get, I'm sure Arun will agree on this. The amount of messages that we get, hi Bharat, and
Hmm.
you, for whatever reason, you end up answering back, right? Hi so and so, how are you? And then you just end up you will not respond. But with
Hmm.
this, right, you are providing all the necessary information for
Hmm.
somebody to make a decision whether they want to say yes or no.
Lovely. Thank you so much for the update, and I think a lot of candidates and job seekers will love it. Like when two of the mm, TA heads are talking about this. So we'll move on to the next section, which is a fun section, which is rapid fire questions. We have a few rapid fire questions for both of you. So whoever wants to go first, I'm ready with the question. So uh, who wants to take it first?
Shoot it. It's okay. Either of us.
Okay, we'll start with who, Arun or Bharat?
It's totally fine. Can go first.
Okay. Okay. So Arun, let's start with you. If you could teleport to any place in the world right now, where would you go?
I'll remain in India only, but teleporting at this moment, I probably miss my family, so I'll be in Bangalore.
Okay. If you could master any skill instantly, what would it be?
Trying to find out easily whether a candidate will join or not from their
Okay.
mind.
Okay. Unlimited food for life or unlimited travel for life? Pick one.
Unlimited food for life. I'm a big foodie.
Okay. If you could be invisible for a day, what would you do?
I'll just simply be myself.
Okay. Would you rather be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company or the president of a country?
I would neither be, of this. I would be myself. As I say, what I am, I'm happy with.
Great. Pizza or pasta for every meal for a year? Yes or no?
Neither of them. I'm trying to cut carbs, that way. I'm already overweight, so I
Okay.
will I will try to be as doing the diet possible.
Great. If you had been stuck in an elevator with one famous person, who would you pick?
Okay, this is a question that you need to ask the stars in the Bollywood Hollywood industry, not to us. Anyway, I would probably be with Simon Sinek, who is
Okay.
the leadership
Okay.
person.
Understand. Yeah. 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 Great. So that's it for Arun. I think he enjoyed it, and let's go to Bharat then. Would you rather would you rather have an extra hour in the day or be able to function without sleep?
No, I probably need my sleep, so and I'll take the extra hour and
Extra
will
hour, right?
probably use that for sleeping.
And apparently we are speaking about quite quitting, huh? That burnout shouldn't be there for any of us.
If you could switch lives with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Probably no one. I've
Okay.
enjoyed my life so far, and I'm sure I'll enjoy for how many number of years in the future. But yeah, no one.
Okay. Super strength or the ability to read minds?
See, if the super strength is the ability to control probability, then I'll pick the super strength. otherwise reading the mind, because the ability to control probability will basically give me all the, like, everything out there. Like, ability to read mind probability right now is 0. As soon as I master the ability to control the probability, it will be 1 instantly. So
Okay. If you were a superhero, what would your catchphrase be?
I'll have to think about this a bit, but I don't know. Rely on me. A
Okay.
very poor catchphrase, but
Okay. Dinner with Elon Musk or tour of Apple HQ? What's your pick?
ah, probably dinner. But
Okay.
then no, dinner with Elon Musk. Yeah.
Dinner with Elon Musk. If you could have any animal as a pet, no restrictions, what would it be?
Do they have to be like now, or extinct also is okay?
Any pet. Okay, extinct. I don't know. That like you can do both options, one living and one is extinct.
Okay. See, if it's extinct, then it has to be any of the dinosaurs.
Okay.
Just just because this is like this is an option.
Hmm.
But
Bharat,
living, I'll probably choose jaguar.
Okay.
be careful, Bharat. Let the dinosaur don't treat you as a pet.
Yeah, which is what I want. I aim to find out, because given how smart they were, if that extinctive level event didn't happen, I'm pretty sure they would be running this whole earth by now. So
Sure. Hopefully, your landlord will not have a problem keeping. If you could okay, sorry. Netflix binge all night or sunrise hike with no sleep.
neither. Sleep is
Neither.
important. Get your
Okay.
sleep, and then everything else will fall in line.
Great. So I think we came to the end of the discussion, and it was lovely speaking to you, Bharat and Arun, both. So thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule and coming and speaking to us. And great, I enjoyed a lot. Got a lot of insights from you guys.
Thank you, Sarabjit. Thanks,
Likewise.
Bharat.